Project Management for the Masses podcast, episode 40, Agile for Dummies, with Cornelius Fischner.
Project managers, have you ever felt like you should get that promotion or a better job? Start a business, write that book. Have you ever felt you were made for more but didn't know where to start?
Welcome to the PM for the Masses podcast with your host, Caesar Abaid.
Learn from the experts, think outside the box, have a voice, network, and be extraordinary.
PM for the Masses podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Project Management for the Masses podcast. My name is Caesar Abaid, your host, and this show is your weekly reminder that your career matters more than your job, and that your life is a project, and you are the manager. Whether you work for a company or for yourself, your job stability is really just your ability to land your next gig. So join me in practicing intentional, planned, and value-adding relevance, starting right now. All right, welcome once again, everybody, and I'd like to quickly apologize for the delay in releasing this episode. Life has been crazy busy, but guess what? I'm here again, so let's talk about today's show. Today, I bring back to the podcast Mr. Cornelius Fischner of the Project Management podcast fame to talk about Agile project management. I find that with Agile, we either know a lot about it because we work in companies that, make use of it, or we have heard a lot about it but haven't really had much exposure to it. So if you'd like to know more about Agile but is afraid or maybe even ashamed to ask, I'm here for you. Today I promise to be brave and unashamed, and I will bring you an introduction to Agile project management with Cornelius Fischner. Cornelius, as you may know, he's the host of the PM podcast and also a trainer in the project management industry. So he has a number of digital products to help project managers earn different certifications. And his latest product is called the Agile Prepcast, and it is designed to help practitioners pass the PMI Agile Certified Practitioner exam. So we'll talk about that, and then after the interview, I'll give you an update on the progress of my book project that I've been talking about now for a few episodes. So how about we get started?
Special guest coming up next. PMforthemasses.com. PMforthemasses.com.
Hello, Cornelius. How are you?
Hello, Cesar. I'm very well. Thank you for having me again.
I feel like the world of project management podcasts are coming together. And
yes, it is.
For people who have been listening to me from the beginning, they know that I'm a big fan of yours, and you were an inspiration to me, not only to get my PMP certification, but also to the podcast. So thank you for everything that you do. And if people listening right now don't know who you are, they should just stop this right now, go to my website and find your link to your website there and check you out. So thank you for coming and being on the show again.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Great. Now, Cornelius, let's talk about Agile. And the reason why I wanted to have you here to talk about that is that I my feeling, and I have some data to prove it, but just by meeting people at conferences and just people in the industry, that there are people who know a lot about Agile, they work with it, they're familiar with it, and then there are those who don't know but are shy or afraid to ask because it seems like it feels like you should know because it's so it's everywhere, right? So what I'd like to do here is maybe ask you to explain to us Agile. And I will pretend to forget everything I know about it, and because a lot of it is probably wrong, anyways. And then we take it from there. It's almost like Agile for Dummies. What do you say?
Okay, that's fine by me.
All right. So, as I said, I believe there are a lot of project managers out there who have heard of Agile but know very little about it. So, how would you explain it? To those who are familiar with more traditional, let's say, waterfall project management. Let's say someone who is a PMP but has never worked with Agile.
Right. So I would say if you ask 10 people for a description of Agile, you'll probably get 10 different answers. So this is my answer right now. And I'm very happy if someone else says, no, I disagree with what you have said there. Agile is something completely different. The Agile movement, the way we know it today, started in about 2001. A group of software developers, they got together in a ski resort, I think in Utah somewhere, and they developed the Agile Manifesto. And the Agile Manifesto is really the foundation of what we know today of Agile software development, even though it has morphed away from Agile software development and is now really more Agile development in general. It doesn't have to be software at all. What they noticed at the time is that the old way of doing projects, especially software development projects, just didn't work anymore. We used to have these mainframe computer systems where you had a very long and drawn-out plan, do, check, act cycle. You planned out your whole piece of software down to the very last bit and byte in the database. Then you developed it, then you delivered it, and it took a very long time. And already by 2001, this wouldn't work anymore. You needed much faster cycles. You needed to be able to deliver quicker and sooner. And so they delivered the Agile Manifesto, and it's really quite telling. There are 4 values that they mention in there. We value individuals and interactions over processes and tools. We value working software over comprehensive documentation. We value customer collaboration over contract negotiation. And the 4th one is we value responding to change over following a plan. Now, they quite clearly says we value A over B. It's not that B is completely useless. So they're not saying following a plan is bad or comprehensive documentation is bad. But under Agile, we value the faster, quicker, the working software, the working product, much more. That's where it really all started. And from that point on forward, Agile came to be. So you can look at Agile today more of an umbrella term over development methodologies. And I'm now intentionally not saying software development methodologies. I'm saying Agile development methodologies that you can apply anywhere, be it the financial industry, be it software development, be it product development, be it marketing, whatever you do. You can use these very nimble and easy, relatively easy to use methods that allow you to really turn on a dime, and as the market changes, as your needs change, as your customer goes and changes his or her mind, you can switch and say, yeah, not a problem. We'll now walk into a new direction with you. So to really, summarize it, Agile development is a way that allows you as the developer to respond quickly to changing needs by the market, by your customer, because you're focusing more on the result, and delivering a quick result, a quick working result. The quality is still very high. It's just the speed has increased massively.
I see. It seems to make sense to me. And in Europe, I'm just gonna maybe put you on the spot a little bit, but in your opinion, how is, let's say, traditional waterfall not addressing that to the point that we needed a manifesto to kind of, like almost like a revolution type of word?
Yeah. Well, it's really a question of timing. The traditional waterfall methodologies, it's plan, do, check, act. Agile, it's plan, do, check, act.
And repeat.
So it's really a question of timing. Agile does not deliver better quality, but it delivers it faster. It's really a way of delivering things faster at the same quality, and most importantly, you deliver what the customer wants. Think about this back in the 80s or 90s when software was developed. The customer had a much longer horizon. They knew the market wasn't going to change in the next 6 months. So here's the type of software we need. Here's the type of program you need to develop. And you had half a year to a year to finish it and come up with it and put it into production. And then it would stay in production for years with minor tweaks. So you really planned out the whole thing first. You developed the whole thing and you delivered the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Under Agile, you develop on a very short cycle. You figure out what is needed in the next 2 to 4 weeks. You deliver that, you put that into production, and then you take out the next features and you work on the next features that are needed and you put those into production. So it's a very quick way of responding to requirements.
Mm-hmm. And what are maybe types of projects that lend themselves well to Agile? I can see things like construction where requirements are really well thought out and at the beginning that'll be kind of difficult. So, it's kind of hard to add or remove a third floor to an apartment building after it has started. But I'm sure that this Agile could be applied to other industries other than software, as you said. Do you have any examples of other types of projects that we can use this?
Yeah, absolutely. In a sense, I do disagree with you in a bit. Okay, Agile does lend itself also to construction projects, not in the traditional Agile. Let's assume you're building a road going from A to B. Yes, you're going to have to first plan the whole thing out. You're going to have to know where is the corridor going to go through. What exactly do we need to do in regards to purchasing land and getting all the permits and all of that. So there is a longer planning period. But once you get going with the actual development, with the building of the road, once the overarching plans have been developed, then you could possibly, I could see this happening, switch over to an Agile methodology. You build a couple of kilometers of road, and that is being done in an Agile fashion. Then you build the next couple of kilometers of road. So that's kind of the idea behind it there.
Yep.
So what other types of projects lend themselves? I can clearly say software development is probably the number one place where Agile development methods are being used today. But in-house, in my very own company, we develop training materials using Agile development methods. And if you look in the literature these days, pretty much anything is developed using Agile. I mean, there are cars that are being designed using Agile. There are coffee machines that are being developed using Agile and designed using Agile. So you can find pretty much an example from every single industry where Agile has been applied to a product development.
Mm-hmm. And as you were talking about the road construction, if you look at the design process of a building, for example, in construction, if you look at that as a project, that part could also be looked at, used, developed under Agile as well, because there's a lot of interactions with the client, with the sponsor. It changes, and before we get to the point that we start construction, that pre-construction phase, if you look at it as a project, could also be seen as something that could be helped by Agile. Do you agree with that?
I have to admit, I am not I'm not familiar with the construction industry. I could easily see that when it comes to designing a building, you have to really design it as a whole because there are so many interactions. You can't just start with the first floor and design that, and then, at some point later we'll put the second floor on top, because there are so many interactions between the floors. So I think there is a bigger need in that area to really work out the plans first and know exactly what you're going to build. But I believe that there are certain details that you can build more in a rolling wave, more in an agile approach. Yes.
Okay. Now, as soon as I start Googling and looking at Agile, looking for information on Agile, another word starts to pop up, and that is Scrum. So what is Scrum and how is it related to Agile?
Yeah. Scrum defines itself as a simple framework for effective team collaboration on complex projects. Okay? A simple framework for effective team collaboration on complex projects. If you think back to the Agile Manifesto, individuals and interactions over processes and tools, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. These three items, they require you to work together with the stakeholders on your project. Everybody on the project has to basically constantly communicate and work together and collaborate on these complex projects. Now, Scrum is a framework, a method, if you wish, for implementing agile projects. And the reason why it's so synonymous is I did the research recently, and I found that when you look at the agile methodologies that are being used, Scrum and a combination of Scrum and extreme programming adds up to 2/3 of all the agile methods used. Scrum itself is about 60% there, 55%. And then Scrum and XP, that hybrid there, that's another 10 or so percent. So it's no wonder that people, when you hear Agile, they think, oh, that must be Scrum. But that's not the case. There is also Kanban, there is Lean, there is Crystal. So all these methods are there. So if you look at Agile more as a framework, and you then have Scrum and Kanban and extreme programming and Lean and Crystal and feature-driven development, those are all the methodologies that you use in order to apply the project management best practices.
Okay, so it's I see. It's something like a subset or a method for implementing the philosophy of Agile.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I listened to your podcast, and I heard you say on your show that you have recently started to use the Agile methodology in your own organization. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and how was that transition, and how has it improved the way you do business?
Right. So I first heard about Agile about 5, 6, maybe even more years ago, on the podcast by Dinah. What was it called again? I don't even remember. She's not doing it anymore. And at that time, I thought, yeah, well, it's just another methodology, and not really all that interested. But the more and more I heard about it, the more I started to realize, wow, this would fit perfectly into our world, into what we do. So maybe about 3 to 4 years ago, I really started to get into it, started learning about it, and started to think about how we could apply this. And about 3 years ago, we brought on a Scrum and Agile coach, and we developed an internal methodology that would allow us to apply Agile, Kanban, and Scrum best practices to our projects that we do internally. So we would fall under the sort of a custom hybrid agile methodology that we have. And again, if we go back to that, the percentage, it's about an eighth or so of people in the world use these custom hybrid approaches there. So we brought in this coach, we developed the methodology for us internally, and then we started applying it. And I must admit, I'm a real fan of it. It does work rather well, and it does work rather well for many reasons. First of all, everybody on the team is focused. They're focused on one particular project. You're not suddenly doing 10 projects at the same time and you have to multitask. No, you're focusing on the one single project that you are working on. For the next 2 weeks, for the next 4 weeks, you know exactly what features you are going to be working on. And there is a clear definition of what does it mean for this feature to be complete. When is it done? That is very well defined under the Agile methodology. And at the end of that iteration of 2 to 4 weeks, we usually had like 3 weeks iterations in our case, you do a retrospective. You get together, you talk about these things, you figure out what worked, what didn't work in the last 3 weeks, and you make adjustments. So even though we had our internal methodology, we realized some things just aren't working for us and we have to change them. So we developed our products using Agile methodology. And the funny bit is, our Agile training course was actually developed using Agile methods. It's quite funny.
Cool. And what about the latest PM Prepcast? Was that also developed in using Agile?
that's even funnier. Actually quite ironic because the PM Prepcast teaches you how to prepare for the PMP exam, so focused more on a waterfall traditional type of an approach with the PMBOK guide. Yet we developed the training course using an Agile method. So it's quite ironic.
It's like doing an audiobook on sign language.
Yeah.
Very good. So, all right. So you went through this experience of not knowing about Agile and then hearing about it and then deciding to implement it and learning and things like that. So how, in your opinion, what's the best way to learn Agile for the project manager who's listening right now, or even someone who's listening right now who's not a project manager, but they are willing to try this to kind of work better?
I would say because Scrum is really the 800-pound gorilla in the market when it comes to methodologies for Agile, go to scrum.org, scrum.org, and then download the Scrum Guide and read through the Scrum Guide to begin to understand what is it. Now, they clearly say Scrum is easy to understand but difficult to implement. So once you read it, you can go, oh, wow, yeah, that sounds really easy, but it's actually quite hard to do. It's quite hard to do it right. So that should be your starting point. And then stop by at YouTube. I believe there is a video, I'm not 100% sure anymore. I think it's called Scrum in Under 10 Minutes or something along those lines, where they really explain the process of Scrum and how Scrum works quite well. That will get you started. And then from there on, it's really a question of where do you want to go? What is it that you want? Are you more focused on Agile software development? Then there are books out there. Are you more focused on product development, marketing, using Agile for this? And then you really have to figure out, now, where do I need to go? But the Scrum Guide and that video on YouTube, that will give you the basis. And then you have to decide, okay, which direction do I now have to continue personally?
Mm-hmm. At what point in your learning curve did you decide that it was a good idea to bring in a coach?
Oh, at the very beginning, actually. I had not yet done a project using Agile. I had learned a lot about Agile at that time. I had even started to look around for certified Scrum Master trainings, because I wanted to really get into this. But as soon as we decided as an organization that we were going to use Agile for all our projects internally, it was clear we needed to have somebody who had the experience and who could teach us. Because, like I said, Scrum, easy to understand, but difficult to really do it right and do it well. So it was one of the first things that we did.
Very smart. I like that. Okay, so people listening, they probably know that you are in the education industry. You teach people how to pass the PMP exam, but there is also now the PMI Agile certification, and you have a lot of knowledge about that. So can you tell us a little bit about the PMI Agile certification?
Okay. So the first thing that everybody gets wrong is they call it something about the Agile professional or something like that, because it's the PMP, the project management professional, that everybody knows about it. But the certification is actually called the PMI Agile Certified Practitioner. And that's an important distinction, right? The project management professional, the PMP, is for project managers. The PMI ACP is really for anyone who works in an agile environment. So it is for, well, the project manager doesn't really exist anymore under Agile, but it is for project managers. It is for team members, for developers, for designers, for customers. So really anybody who works in an agile environment and a team that uses agile practices, the PMI Agile Certified Practitioner is intended for them. It really shows that they have the experience and the knowledge of working in an agile environment. The requirements in order for you to take this exam, there are 4 areas that you have to fulfill. First of all, you need some general project experience. So you have to have worked on projects for at least 2,000 hours. And that's just in general projects. It doesn't necessarily have to be agile. But on top of that, you have to show, I have worked for 1,500 hours on agile project teams. So in other words, if you want to be able to become PMI ACP certified, you have to have at least 3,500 hours of work performed on projects, and 1,500 of those must be in agile environment. And you also have to have 21 hours of training in agile practices. So, go and take a CSM class or of course, take a PMI ACP exam prep class. That will also give you those requirements right there.
Mm-hmm. I see. So you need the experience, and you need the specific experience with Agile, and then take the exam, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you said something there in passing, and I just wanted to kind of, people might have missed it, but you said that in Agile, there is no project manager. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Agile talks about self-organizing teams. Okay. And a self-organizing team, in a self-organizing team, you really don't need a command and control person at the helm. The role of the project manager goes really from pointing into the direction and saying, okay, this is where we're going. You do A, you do B, you over here, you do C. Now get going, move. What's your status? To the project manager becomes more of the glue, kind of the person who becomes a servant leader, who ensures that roadblocks are removed. They do call for a Scrum Master, especially under the Scrum methodology, who is sort of trying to ensure that everybody follows the best practices from Scrum. In the final analysis, the role of the project manager seriously changes from command and control to servant leadership, to making sure that the team has everything that they need. And then the team as a whole decides how we do things and what exactly it is that we do in the next 2 weeks together with the product owner.
It was like it's soft skills on steroids, I guess.
Yes.
It took the little hard skills that we had, and they say, yeah, no, let's get rid of that now. Let's just be. And I think that's how I like to work, But that's myself. I like that being the glue rather than telling people what to do. I think it's much more efficient. I think it's just this is a codification of that feeling, I guess, that I had. But very interesting, very, very interesting. Okay, so how do you help? Before I ask you that question, the PM Prep Cast that I took, even though it's a tool for helping people pass the exam, I would recommend it to people who actually want to learn about project management and the PMI framework, even if they're not planning on taking the exam, because it's such a thorough tool that takes you, by the hand and gives you this overview of the PMBOK guide. How you have a product that helps people pass the PMI Agile certified practitioner exam. Is that the case as well? Do you recommend that to people who want to learn more about Agile to go through that course?
Yeah, we actually went way overboard with that course. And so the first target group of people for the Agile Prepcast are, of course, those practitioners who want to study for the PMI ACP exam and, put those letters behind their name. And for that, we have, I think it's over 45 hours of training in the course, even though you only need 21. So you can see you get a lot more. And then the second group, it's really for those who are, for example, PMP certified and who want to learn more about Agile. And of course, it does two things at the same time. It teaches you everything you need to know about Agile and then some. And at the same time, it also prepares you for the exam. And more than once did I hear from the people who just said, I just want to learn about Agile, that they thought, after I took your class, I was so intrigued with it, I decided actually that I wanted to go into this direction and become ACP certified. The biggest problem then is that, most people don't actually have the 1,500 hours of Agile if they go down that route. And so most people say, well, now, I'm going to work on Agile projects and make sure that I meet the prerequisites. And then, thanks to your course that I've just taken, I can take the exam as well.
Mm-hmm. The natural question here would be how do you get experience in Agile? But you actually answered that question in one of your podcast episodes. So I'm just going to put a link to that episode in the show notes for this show, and then people can go and listen to that. You did this Q&A with a listener. It was very interesting. And the listener can go to pmforthemasses.com/40 for today's episode, and I'll have a link there. And Cornelius gives some great advice on how to get experience in Agile. It was very good. Now, Cornelius, so all right, so how does the course work? Is it video training, and what is the cost? How much does it cost?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is video training. It's a podcast. So it's a video podcast. It's a video cast, if you like. Mm-hmm. And if you have any kind of an iPhone or an iPad, it's fully integrated. So it automatically synchronizes to that device. If you have an Android device, then there's a little bit of manual work involved simply because Android isn't integrated. You have to manually copy things over, unfortunately. And if you just have a PC, then, you can just download it using iTunes, for example, or any other podcatcher software. I think Outlook, the latest versions of Outlook, is even capable of downloading these videos. And it is simply one video after the other. And you just start watching with video number 0, and you continue all the way up to number 99.99. Not even quite sure how many there are any more in between. But like I said, it's about 45 hours in duration.
Mm-hmm. And if it's anything like the PM Prep Cast, I know it's going to be amazing value. And I think we should disclose that we do have an affiliate relationship. So if people use my link, which is pmforthemasses.com/agile, easy to remember, then they will get redirected to you. And if they purchase, then I will get a commission. So just for disclosure there. but I'm always talking about you and what you do, and people go and buy the Prepcast. They turn around and tell me how great the product it was. So I have no problem recommending this. And so here you go, pmforthemasses.com/agile. Now, Cornelius, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your knowledge here with us. If people want to learn more about you and what you do, where should they go?
Well, the best place to go really is my free podcast about project management, which is pm-podcast.com. So that's pm-podcast.com, or simply go to your favorite search engine and search for the Project Management Podcast, and you'll find me.
All over the front page of Google. Very good. Cornelius, thank you so much, and enjoy beautiful California.
Thank you very much, Cesar.
You are listening to the PM for the Masses podcast.
All right. So I have been looking to bring you an introduction to Agile for a while now. We even had a show way back when about Kanban, but I think this episode today should have been, first. So I hope this was helpful. And I feel now that I have a good roadmap, and some resources to learn more and even perhaps pursue some training in Agile and Scrum. So thank you, Cornelius, for all the information there. I'm going to add the links that we talked about onto today's show, at the episode notes for today's show. And also you can visit pmforthemasses.com/agile to learn more about Cornelius's course. All right. Now, before I go, I'd like to give you an update on my book project. I know I didn't talk about it last time, but it is moving forward. It is moving forward actually at full speed ahead. So, first of all, let's talk about what I'm going to write about. I've been talking about the fact that I have a few ideas for books, and I still do. So I settled on one of the ideas that I have. So here's the idea. As you know, project management has changed my life. That's the reason why I'm here talking to you today, is because I decided to study project management. So, and I also have seen how project management can help pretty much everyone in their personal life and in their small or medium businesses or even large businesses. So I decided to write my first book on project management. And basically, I'm as the title of my show says, Project Management for the Masses. So I'd like to bring project management to the masses. Now, corporations using project management are able to promise the market complex new products and services, and then they go on and deliver them on time, on budget, and within scope. Right? When you think of companies like Google or Apple or the big players, let's say Tim Cook, he's able to get up on a stage. He's doing it this week. It's Sunday night here. So tomorrow, Monday morning, he's going to go up on the stage at WWDC and he's going to make a promise, right? He's going to make a promise for a new operating system. Probably it's going to be called iOS 8. I don't know. But he's going to make that promise and he's going to say, and this is going to be available, 2-3 months down the road and he makes these promises for these complex, let's say a new iPhone, for example. He'll say, the new iPhone 8 or 7, whatever it's called, 6, is going to be available at, on, let's say, November 6th, 2014, at 9 a.m. in 20 different countries. And so they're able to make these promises for these products and services. They're so complex, and yet they always deliver. Right? Now, on the other hand, is you have individuals, small businesses, and other enterprises not familiar with project management, struggling to finish projects that are way simpler, and end up failing when it comes to fulfilling their goals and expectations. So, and the difference here is that these large corporations know project management, and the layperson doesn't. So my goal is to simplify the nuts and bolts of project management enough so that it's digestible by people outside the corporate world. And I think this is one of the main obstacles to project management reaching the masses, is that it's complex, it's boring, it's dry. The PMBOK guide is I mean, it's a pain to read. If you read it before, I only read it because I had to pass that exam, from cover to cover. So I think there's an obstacle there. There's a gap that I could fill. So it's basically project management evangelism, if you want to put it that way. So my idea is, for people interested in the field of project management, it'll be a simple and clear introduction to it. Things that have worked for me, concepts from project management that have worked in my personal life and in my business, right? Now, also for seasoned project managers, the book would be a great way to introduce people to project management. So when people ask, what do you do? You can, give them this book and say, just read it. It's easy, and you'll get a pretty good idea of what it is that I do. Now, for project management consultants who struggle with conveying the value of project management to potential clients, and I've heard this time and time again, it's hard to convey that value and that idea that project management is worth pursuing. This will be super helpful as well, because you can give your potential client a copy of this book as an introduction to the power of good project management. So anyway, the working title of the book is Project Management for You, right? But that could change, but that's what I came up with for now. And there's also going to be a tagline along with that book, and we're still working on it. So this is where I am right now. And at this point, if you'd like to help me, you can do it in two ways. First, as you can imagine, I have a tremendous challenge ahead of me. I basically want to translate the PMBOK guide into the least people need to know, and do so in an entertaining way, so people will actually read the book. So my question for you is this: if you were simplifying project management to its bare minimum, so people could get a good understanding of it, and perhaps implement some of it too, what would you include in this outline, right? There's so much we can talk about when it comes to project management, but what is the least people need to know to start seeing results? So I love your input and your ideas. I have, some ideas of my own here, things that have worked for me that I'm sure to include in my book, but what would you do, right? So send me a message through the website. Just go to pmforthemasses.com and click on the contact me link there. You can send me a private email message that way. Or if you want to do this publicly, you can just go to pmforthemasses.com/40, which is the post for this episode, and you can leave your comment there. And let me know. I'd love to get your input. So that's one way you can help. Now, the other way is this. As you know, there's some costs associated with publishing a book. We talked about this when I had Patrick Snow last time on the podcast. And I had to brainstorm, a way to write and launch this book in a transparent and collaborative way, because I think people who are listening to me right now, if you're listening to me right now and you'd like to publish your book, I think it'd be valuable to you to kind of see, what happens to me as I pursue this. So I want to do this in a very transparent way. So I decided that I will launch a Kickstarter campaign to help me not only pre-sell some of the books, but also other things like a pre-launch, create some buzz around this book, some marketing, and also to cover some of the costs associated with publishing a book. And if you listen to my interview with Patrick Snow, you know that there's some costs. It's not just a matter of sitting down and writing it. You need to have it proofread. You need to have a designer to design the cover and the internal design and ISBN numbers and first print and all these things. It costs money. So I figured a Kickstarter campaign would kill a lot of birds, with in a simple way. So this is the second way you can help me. It can help me try and fund this campaign. So in the next couple of days, hopefully before the next episode of the podcast, I will have this campaign launched. And it'll be outlined there all the ways that you could help me fund this. If you're familiar with Kickstarter, if you're not familiar with Kickstarter, is a website that you can post a project, and then you can have people fund your project, so they can, for example, a book. I could have it I could pre-sell the book on this website, and then people can go and pledge, right? So, and there can be different levels of pledges, right? So I can have, for let's say $25, you get the book. For $30, you get the book and the ebook. For $50, you get this, that, and the other, and up all the way up to thousands of dollars, for a sponsorship spot or something. So I'm still working on the details of how I'm going to set this up, but it's a great way for projects like this to get exposure and get funding. So as of right now, this is Sunday night, June 1st, 2014. This campaign is not yet launched, but when it is launched, you'll be able to find it at pmforthemasses.com/Kickstarter. All one word, Kickstarter. So if you go there now, you're going to just get redirected to my website, but once the campaign is up, you will be able to go there and see it. And if you could help me fund this project, you'd be absolutely fantastic. So that's it. I hope this is interesting to you. It's really kind of makes me a little nervous when, especially when this campaign is out there. I'm going to have to push it to kind of get the word out, and it's kind of nerve-wracking a little bit, but I hope this is exciting for you. That's why I'm sharing, So go to today's episode notes at pmforthemasses.com/40 for all these links I'm talking about here today. If you're driving and you can't remember, they're all going to be there. And really, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my chat with Cornelius and also learning about my book and how it's coming about. And I will speak to you next week. And until then, remember that life is a project, and you, my friend, are the manager. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for listening to the PM for the Masses podcast.
Tune in next week for more great ideas on how to manage your projects better and truly stand out in your industry.
PM for the Masses